So I guess you've read the title, David Price, the Forgotten Heavyweight. David Price scored a third round knockout victory over Andre Parler over the weekend in Germany. Before we talk about that fight and the good finish, let's take us back a while. Do you remember when David Price was the unbeaten heavyweight and he was knocking everybody out? And everybody was calling David Price a beast, and he's knocking everybody out, and he was stopping everybody in his tracks. And then he suffered his defeat to Tony Thompson. We all can get sucked into the hype. I myself got sucked into the hype the first time around against Tony Thompson because I believed that David Price had the technical skill to beat Tony Thompson. But I had said that Augie Harrison would have beaten David Price because of the southpaw style, but I just thought that Tony Thompson was a little older and faded, and but I always thought the southpaw style would give Price problems. So it happens that it actually was a southpaw that beat David Price. It was an old wild veteran, which is Tony Thompson, which we discover later on he wasn't so old and what at all, because he goes on and beats Price not once but twice. On top of beating Price twice, he goes on and beats Orlando Solis and goes 12 rounds with Kubrat Pulev. So really and truly, you can't really say that David Price got beat by a bum. He got beat by a world-class athlete. And the only man to really have gone on and beat Tony Thompson, as we know, is Klitschko, and also now Pulev. And there are question marks about Thompson's condition when he went and took the Pulev fight. But anyway, come back to my point. David Price was being hyped up by Box Nation, and he himself admits that it was a poor choice, it's poor selection. Since then, Price got knocked out by Thompson in the first fight, and I said in the rematch that I didn't think that Price should have taken the rematch against Thompson. I felt Thompson would win the fight. I thought Thompson would stop Price, and that's exactly what happened. And after that, I was one of the few that turned around and actually jumped to the support and the defence of David Price and said that Price could well come again. And I said for Price to come again, he needs to leave Liverpool and he needs to relocate and really get himself a proper trainer, an experienced trainer. All due respect to Franny Smith, he'd done a really good job with Price up to that point, but there are things that a professional trainer, such as the top trainers, experienced and professional trainers as well, who have produced world champions. I'm not saying that Franny Smith couldn't have taken Price to the world championship, but from what you've seen, the adjustments, the little adjustments that have been made so far in Price has been done with a more experienced trainer. So my point is this: he's now with Tommy Brooks, who once was with Evander Holyfield, I believe. Brooks, an experienced trainer. And that's the sort of trainer that Price needs. I believe now that David Price's career, his professional career, starts now, because all those fights he had beforehand of knocking people out, he wasn't learning anything. Now we look at the Andre Parler fight, which he had. He came for a bit of a scrap with Andre Parler, and if you look at Price in this fight, I mean the knockdown, if you look at it carefully, for me it looked like Parler did knock him down, but it looked like the left hook kind of got around the back of his neck and pulled him down when he took the shot. And Price was slightly off balance, so he didn't look disorientated anyway. And it's good to see that Price has got away and he's in Germany now and he's rebuilding his career. And I don't believe that Price is going to be taking easy opponents. I think now, under the guide of the Sauerland brothers, I believe that Price is going to be taking on some good opponents, the sort of opponents he needed when he was with the under Box Nation and with Frank Maloney. That's what he really needed. And people are not going to like me for saying this, but I do compare Deontay Wilder and Price on the same level, in the sense that they're both big punchers and both knocking people out. The difference is that actually when Price stepped up trying to do the same thing, he got exposed. Deontay Wilder has yet to really step up and face somebody like a Tony Thompson, and it would be interesting to see what happens and how people respond if and when Deontay Wilder receives his first loss, how they respond, because a lot of people were on the Price bandwagon, and now the majority of those people who were on the Price bandwagon have disappeared. I'm sure Price could tell you that himself, have disappeared and have lost all hope in Price. I've seen a lot of things in Price in the last fight against Parler which were encouraging. The way he was able to block, slip, and he's still slightly robotic at the upper half of the body, but from what I'm seeing, he's got nice little cute defensive moves now that he's using, slight little bits of a shoulder roll, and the way he's cupping, he's blocking the left hook more. There's the stuff you can see that he's trained, technical things his training has been working on, that you did not see with Price pre the Tony Thompson fights, the Tony Thompson defeats. So those are good signs for David Price. And he stood with some heavy whacks from Parler and fought back, which was good. When he was in close, he tucked up well, which was good. And he was able to get the knockout at the end. So we all know Price has got the knockout power. He's tightening up on his defense, which is good. He needs to do that. And that's not just with David Price, that's for any heavyweight in the world. Defensive responsibility is key, especially when the big punches are being thrown. It's great to throw big punches, but when you have to take them, it's another matter altogether. So, what happens to David Price now? Well, first of all, congratulations, David, for a good performance. Getting rid of Andre Parler, and you're talking about getting into the top 10 and fighting against somebody in the top 10, which is all good news as well. You're very much the forgotten heavyweight in the division because of one defeat or two defeats to actually a world-class fighter. So, it's funny. People are fickle. 1 minute they're on your bandwagon, you lose one fight, and suddenly it's like a death sentence and nobody's interested in you anymore. I believe that David Price can come again with the right matches. And I won't use the word cherry picking, but the right matches, and that's just with any fighter in the world, whether it be Floyd Mayweather, whether it be Manny Pacquiao. There's certain fighters you would prefer to fight. When you get to the elite level like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, there's you have a bit more control of your career. But for David Price, I think now he needs to keep going the way he is, fight regularly. And he seems in a better place mentally as well, which is good to see. I think Price is a confidence fighter for me, very much a confidence fighter, and I still think he could do some damage in the heavyweight division, definitely. I mean, he doesn't come into fights out of shape, but yeah, he's learning his trade now. And those defeats have probably been a blessing in disguise for David Price. It's but he had those defeats now. He hasn't fought for a world title yet, which is great. So he'll be now having meaningful fights. We hope the Parler fight's a good start. Meaningful fights on his mission to become heavyweight champion of the world. And in 6 months, anything can happen. All it takes is for another top heavyweight to get knocked out, and Price to fight someone in the top 10, and he's in there. And one thing we know, David Price has got a brutal right hand. So I think the one thing that's very annoying when I see David Price, a big man that size, he's just pouring with the jab. I want to see when David Price gets out there to throw a jab with some sort of authority, a real stiff ramrod jab. The best heavyweights in the world, or the best fighters period in boxing, it's always been behind the left jab. The left jab's the key, so if he can get his left jab to have some sort of authority rather than this pouring left jab, it's key, because when you're pouring with a left jab rather than ramming out a left jab, there's always a possibility that people can come over the top. So if Price can learn to fight at distance, and like how Lewis used to fight ugly up close, tie you up, lean on you, and just get down on you and do things like that. He might be ugly up close, and he'll tie up a lot, but at a distance, if Price can learn to fight at a distance, he could be a dangerous fighter in the heavyweight division with that big right hand. And so David, if you're watching, you may be forgotten in a lot of other people's eyes, but in my eyes, you're still a legitimate threat in the heavyweight division. To get beaten by Tony Thompson is no sin or no death sentence. Orlando Solis got beat by Tony Thompson the other day, so that's not bad, is it? I mean, so just lock yourself away as you are in Germany. Keep training, keep working hard, get that jab pumping, my friend, and you know, we'll look forward to seeing you doing some big things next 6 to 12 months. Yep, that's my thoughts on David Price. A good win of Andre Parla, who's dangerous, and actually, I tell you, Andre Parla wouldn't be a bad opponent for Hughie Fury now, because Hughie Fury is another fighter who's doing very good things at the moment. So, and Andre Parla is a good opponent. Bearing in mind he gave Derek Chisora some tough moments. Yeah, I think Parla is a decent test for anybody. So, congratulations, David Price. It was one of those fights where a lot of people thought that Parla would get the victory based on what Parla did to Derek Chisora. But like I said, the one thing about David Price, he's got that right hand, and it's brutal. Let me know what you guys think. I'm out.